This is the secret level clearance briefing, talking about the normality bias, Maslow's hierarchy, and its use in communication. Going forward this week, just for ease of understanding, Mondays we will do videos at the secret level, the base level of $5. Tuesdays will be the next level up, the top secret. Wednesdays will be for the special access need to know people at 15. Thursdays will be the round table, the $20 division, and then on Fridays we are going to do the Marquee Masters. So there will be one video put out every single day at every single, one video a day, and every week, every level will have at least one video. And then throughout the weekend, we may have some bonus videos put up. So that having been said, we are at the base level now to start understanding how language can be used to affect cognitive dissonance, taking advantage of the normality bias. We're going to start here today. Now, a lot of people believe this, and this actually is a very good way to get people to believe a lie. The mainstream media has used it for decades. But there's also another way to get people to believe something, if you can understand where they are in their head. There's four kinds of bias here talked about. The normalcy bias, which is, of course, the refusal to plan for or react to a disaster which has never happened before. Omission bias, the tendency to judge harmful actions as worse or less moral than equally harmful omissions. This is something that is very clear, and we will cover tomorrow in the top secret level with the whole flat earth nonsense. Outcome bias, the tendency to judge a decision by its eventual outcome, instead of based on the quality of the decision at the time it was made, meaning that the ends basically justify the means. Planning fallacy, the tendency to underestimate task completion times. This happens to everyone, including myself, when it comes to making these videos. Human being, and sometimes I'll, allot an hour and it'll take 3 to put the ideas together in a way that are coherent and still within a time frame that people can understand them. So understanding that behavioral bias that people have, people will tend to interpret warnings in the most optimistic way possible, seizing on any ambiguities to infer a less serious situation. At the end of the video, very here shortly, I'm going to show you how to take a simple statement that seems very, very damning and very negative, and flip it around to turn it into something that seems positive without really changing the meaning of any of the words in the statement. This is something that happens to virtually everyone when we watch these disasters happen. They don't believe something can happen unless it already has. So when we talk about the falling apart of our society or the collapse of the dollar, we can read about things like the Depression, and we can see things like something what happened in Venezuela, but until it happens here, no one is going to really plan for it. I very much doubt even the most prepped of preppers has $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 in the bank per person to survive for a year, because that's what it would take if we lost 100, 200, 300% value over a period of days. It's just not something people are going to think they need to do. And I wanted to put this, I just thought this was a cute one, talking about the sky is falling. I wish it was bigger, but they're different threat levels like we have here in this country. The bottom one is low risk of sky falling. The next one is, general risk of sky falling, significant risk, high risk, and sky falling, of course, at the top. basically that's the idea. People try to use different dissonant tools to, like this, for example. It's like, okay, we're going to know when something happens because we're going to have this funky risk system that's going to let everyone know, so don't worry about it. Don't plan for it. We have it taken care of. Now, as promised, this is how it can be used in making a statement. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can zoom this back out here. Okay. Now, I use this just because it's in everybody's consciousness. Please don't ascribe anything like this like I'm trying to get people to believe any one thing with this statement. It's only an example. Let's start at the top. Something that someone who would oppose the president might say. I hate Donald Trump because he treats women like it's the 1950s. We hear this all the time about the misogyny. Well, here's how you can turn that information into a psychologically operant statement that will completely change the meaning. First thing you do is you depersonalize it. You take away the I and the he and all that, and you change it around to where it says Donald Trump is hated for having a 1950s attitude towards women. Okay? Pretty close. But now it's depersonalized. Then we break down the subjects and objects in the sentence. Donald Trump, attitude, women, the 50s, hate. Then we create what they call dissonant synonyms. Instead of him by name, we just use his title. Then we take attitude, which kind of has a negative connotation, and we use synonyms. Mindset, belief, impression. Women. Okay, we take that and we could probably use that. It's not usually one way or the other, but we could use other softer terms like feminine or ladies or even girls, perhaps. The 1950s. Well, this is just a time in America that was seen as traditional values, and everyone was happy, and everyone's nostalgic for it, and all this other stuff. And then instead of using hate, we talk about frustration or being upset. Now here's our newly crafted options. The president causes upset by treating ladies nostalgically. Now, here, we have basically taken the exact same information and just coached it in a way that it doesn't have the same power. It doesn't have the same visceral nastiness to it. And of course, we're going to switch around. Instead of using the president as the subject, now we're going to take ladies as the subject. Ladies are sometimes frustrated by the president's values-oriented mindset. You see where we're going with this? This is Psychological Operations 101. Traditional values expressed by the president toward femininity seem to frustrate certain women. This is the difference in psychological operations between Fox and CNN. This is exactly how they say the exact same thing using different terminology. Now imagine this technique when you have not just control of the vocabulary, but control of the visual graphics, control of the person's tone of voice saying it. You go from a Rachel Maddow to, I'm trying to think of one of the Fox News babes, just flew off the top of my head, like a Lori Dew from years ago, or one of those girls that has a much more softer tone. And you completely change the entire meaning of the statement. And this is PSYOPs. This happens every day in the media. People read the same information, and they take, I hate Donald Trump because he treats women like it's the 1950s, to, ladies are sometimes frustrated by the president's values-oriented mindset. And that's how it works. So I will go ahead and attach this so you can go over it. And you can, as some homework, go find some statements like this and go find extreme examples on both sides, on the left and on the right, and just pull statements out and do this to them and see if you can turn them around to the other side. And it's a great way, once you learn how to do this with this kind of technique, you can use it in your own vocal techniques with people around you, in your work, in your private life. And you can use this type of operation to, and you will see a marked difference in how people react to certain things. So we'll leave it there. This is how you do it. This is how to use people's normality bias, people believing that things are one way by hearing a certain thing when they're actually another. Omission bias, outcome bias, all of these things. The use of language is very, very important. And it can create all sorts of problems in your life, or it can create all sorts of success in your life. So, thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Thank you.